Hi, this is Mrs. Zhu, and we're going to be working on the practice quiz 1, quarter 4. And tomorrow, just a reminder, you will be tested on Pythagorean theorem. You will be tested on area and perimeter. Perimeter, also circumference. And these are the pages that you need to study in your interactive notebook to help you. And also the geometry vocab. Now the geometry vocab, not the entire list, but we did pick out 21 or 2 or 3 of them. And I'm actually going to pick 10 on your test tomorrow. You will be tested on 10 of them. Okay, please check Edmodo to see some of the announcements that I've put up too. The first 5 questions, you're really just looking for the vocab. Find the definition in the book. Starting with number 6, here we have, the question is asking us about a baseball diamond. And if I were to draw a baseball diamond, here we are. And each of the sides are 90 feet all the way around. And we know that in a baseball diamond, we have these perfect 90-degree angles. Now we're looking for the shortest distance between first base, here's first base, and third base, we'll say this is home. And so if I just look at right here my triangle, then I'm going to be able to find, because the legs are 90 and 90, I can find the missing, which is C, the distance between third and first base. So I'm going to apply the Pythagorean theorem. 90 is a leg A, 90 is a leg B, so I have A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. So I'm going to take A, I'm going to do 90 squared, and I'm going to add that to another 90 squared, and that's going to give me C squared. Now I know 90 is a pretty big number to multiply, but actually when you're multiplying a number such as 90, it's actually very easy. When you multiply 90 times 90, all you need to multiply is the 9 and the 9, which makes 81. And then, because there are 2 zeros, you would just add that to 81, 0, 0 behind it. So that's going to give me 8100 plus another 8100. That's equal to C squared. And then when I add those two, I get 16,200, and that's equal to C squared. And if I need my calculator to help me, that might be beneficial to you. But you are looking for the square root of 16,200. Now that will be pretty close to 128, actually 127, and I know that's a very large number, feet, but you may leave it just as the square root like that. Now that's not a simplified square root. However, for the purpose of helping us find Pythagorean theorem, that's just fine. I'm going to skip down to number 8. Here we have a picture where there's Oscar's little doghouse, and we are looking for the height of the doghouse. This is similar to question number 2 in the little homework quiz we took today. So to find the height of the house, okay, we only need to look at a section of his house, this right triangle right here. So if I take that right triangle apart, I'm going to look for x, the height. I know that the slanted part is 5. The bottom right here, and the mistake that people make is to say that this bottom was 6, but it's not. It's actually half of it, so making it 3. So then now I can use a Pythagorean theorem. Now, if you remember the shortcut, it would help you here. If that confused you, don't worry. We're just going to apply the Pythagorean theorem. Here's my 90-degree angle right there. So that tells me that x and 3 are the legs. So that means x can be A and 3 could be B, which leaves the opposite of the right angle, the hypotenuse, was just left with the letter C. So 5 is C. So I'm going to use A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. I'm going to square B, which is 9, or 3 squared, and I'm going to square 5 squared. So I'm going to get 9 and 25, and I'm going to add the A squared also to it. Now because I'm looking for the leg, I'm going to subtract the 9 with the 25, giving me 16. So I'm going to look for the square root of 16, which is 4. So that was the shortcut I was talking about. The height is 4 feet. That's the final answer. But here you'll see the triangle 3, 4, 5. That's the shortcut. 3, 4, 5 shortcut. We call it the Pythagorean triples. So 4 feet is the height of the dog's house. Okay, I'm going to turn to the back side. Start with number 10. Here in number 10, you could split this into different ways. Some people like to do the rectangle, and then they'll have a little shape here. So we have a rectangle, and then added with, and if you turn your head to the side, then you'll be able to see the shape actually really looks like this, which is, some people like to think it's a parallelogram. Well, a parallelogram should have parallel sides opposite of one another, but this one doesn't. It's actually a trapezoid. Okay, you can do that. Some people might like to split it into a long rectangle and then a small little triangle right here. So the method that I'm going to use is the rectangle and the triangle, just because maybe that's the formula I happen to remember. So I'm going to do the rectangle, and then I'm going to add that with the little triangle. Now I am adding and not subtracting here because I am putting shapes together and they're all shaded, so that's the shape that I have. Versus if you do 11 or 12, in 11 there's like a big rectangle here, but you're going to subtract a little triangle. Number 12 too, you've got this big rectangle around it and then a little triangle in the middle that I'm going to subtract out. So I'm going to cut that out and subtract. We will get to question 2 or 11 after number 10. So I'm going to take this method. So my triangle formula is half of the base times height. Now I just want to figure out the base and the height. The base and the height are going to be here and here. So the base, if I figure out that the whole thing is 8 and this part is 6, then that means the base here is going to be 2. So my base is half of 2 times height, and the height right here, since the whole thing is 6 and right here is 4 and this whole thing is 6, I want to do 6 minus 4, which gives me 2. And again, this is 2 and this is 4, so if I add them up, that makes the whole part of 6. So that means the height is 4. I'm sorry, the height is 2. So they were both 2. Height 2 and base 2. Okay, so that gives me 4, and then half of that is 2. So that's the area of the triangle. And then I have the area of the rectangle, which is going to be the base and the height. Now the base and the height, I have to be very careful when I choose the base and the height. The height here is 4 because that's the height of the rectangle, and then the base would be 8. Not the 6, not the 6 on the side. Don't make that mistake. So I'm going to do base times height, 4 times 8, which is 32. And then I'm going to add these two together, which makes 34. 34 feet, I'm sorry, centimeters. 34 centimeters squared is the area of number 10. And here's answer to number 11. Let's work that one out. I'm going to erase this. On number 11, I like to see it as a rectangle, a large rectangle, and a triangle. And that's going to be the easiest thing. I know some of us might want to divide it into a square. Okay, if you do that, you're going to have a square. But then over here, you're going to have this shape like this. This shape is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-sided shape. 5-sided shapes are pentagons. However, pentagons are even all the way around typically. This one is not. So I don't know the area of a pentagon, but I could keep splitting it up like this, where I could do this shape and then plus the red one over here. So there's another rectangle and that square from the beginning. And in the middle here, this 4-sided shape is not a square or a rectangle, but it's a trapezoid. And so you can see that there's just kind of too many shapes that I have to individually do. So I would prefer to do the large rectangle and then subtract that little triangle part. That's what I'm going to do instead. Okay, so I will do the rectangle here and I'll do the triangle over here. So the rectangle, the whole large rectangle, is a 4 centimeter height, and then the base is 10 centimeters. So that's going to be 40. 4 times 10, base times height. And then the triangle over here, I know that right here, this part right here says 3, so that's 3 centimeters. And that will be my base. The height here ends right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it says 3 for this side right here, not the top. The top would actually be, well, how could we figure out this part right here, the distance? If the whole thing is 10, this is 4, this is 2. 4 plus 2 makes 6, but I still need how many more to get the 10? I need 4, so the top part is 4. So my triangle now, I can use half of the base times the height, so 4 times 3 is 12. And then I'm going to divide that by 2, giving me 6. So now I'm going to take the 40 from the rectangle, subtract it with the 6, so 40 minus 6 gives me my answer 32 centimeters squared. I'm sorry, 34. Can't subtract here. 34 centimeters squared. And yes, the answers for 10 and 11 actually turned out to be the same answer. Coincidence. Number 13. Actually, no, let's do number 14, and the rest you can do by yourself. Here, if I were to manipulate the shapes a little bit, it seems like this little square here, that's 2 feet by 2 feet, is actually the square that's also in here, 2 feet by 2 feet. So if I replaced it, put that square in there, what I'm going to get is this square out here that I'm going to highlight. So really, I just need to find the area of a rectangle, and I need the base and the height. The height here happens to be 4 feet. Okay, height. And then the base here would be the 8 that's indicated right there, 8 feet. So I'm simply multiplying 4 times 8, and that's going to give me oh, I'm sorry, it is actually not 8. My mistake, I'm not looking at it correctly. It's actually not 8. The whole thing is 8 up here, but I don't need the whole thing. I don't need this part right here, so I'm going to take that out. I know that as actually this length right here is the same as what is down here, which is 2 feet. So I'm going to subtract that to get the bottom down here. So 8 minus 2 is 6. So the base is actually here 6 feet. Of just the rectangle. I'm going to highlight it again for you. This part right here. Okay, this part right here. So I'm going to take 6 times 4 and get 24 feet squared. And I do apologize if there are times that I go a little quickly, but feel free to rewind where you need to, work it out again, come back to the video when you need to, or figure it out to check your answers. So these are all of our questions. I'm going to put the answers up for for the back side so that you can double check them, and then when you come into class, if you have any more questions, please ask me then. Number 10, the answer was 34 centimeters squared. Same for number 11. Number 12, the answer is 108 inches squared. Erase some of this so we can just kind of make it a little neat here for you. And then the last 3 down here. So there was the answers again. Sorry, one more time. And then the answers down here for 13 is 22 meters squared. Answer for 14 was that one. And then 15 is going to be 20.16 meters squared for 15. And let's turn back to the front side. And we're good. We'll check the rest of the answers tomorrow.